Okay, so today we're going to look at credit reports or credit history. You should have watched the video about what the difference is between a credit report and the credit score. You also should have looked at the file that was attached that has a credit report example. So we're going to start taking notes on credit reports. Our journal here has the title. Today's date is January 4, 2016. We have credit report / credit history. And the essential question that we want to be able to answer is, how is my credit report or credit history impacted by my financial decisions? So we're actually going to take notes on this assignment paper today. So if you'll take that out, and notice we're going to do a section at a time. When you looked at the credit report, it should have, it provides you with a bunch of information, and so we're going to look at first what type of personal information you find on your credit report. It will have your name, your date of birth, your social security number, your address. Your address will include both past and current. It will also include your telephone number, and who your employer is. So when you look at a credit report, all of this information will be there under personal information. Okay, we're going to go to the second section that is listed here as credit information and payment history. When you looked at the credit report example, it said credit information, and there's some information there that you'll find for all of the person's credit history, such as the lender's information. I'm going to put information. Let's scoot this over. So the lender is who's borrowing you the money. Is it a bank, a company, or something like that? Okay. It will also include the type of credit that you're getting. And what that means is this for a car or a house or something else? It will always include the date you opened and closed the account. It will also include the length or status of your credit history. That's if you pay on time, if you're late, anything like that. And the last thing that you'll find on the credit information and payment history is going to be how much money you owe. Okay, so it's going to be the amount owed. Now, the video talked about the 3 different credit agencies: Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. So just depending on which credit report you get, they all look a little different, but they'll have the same information. And that's why we're kind of just trying to understand what's on the credit report itself. The next section is public information. These are things that would be on public files with the court or something like that. So something like a bankruptcy, if you had to file bankruptcy, that would be listed under public records. If you have a tax lien, okay, and what a tax lien is, it's when, if you don't pay your taxes, the government will put what they call a lien on you. And basically, it's so that they can get their money back. And so this tax lien is placed, it's attached to like your credit history, so that when creditors are looking to loan you money, they see that you have a tax lien, they'll be more likely not to give you credit. Okay, something like a foreclosure would also be on here. A foreclosure is when you have a mortgage or a house payment, and if you can't make your house payments for consecutive months and some time has passed, the bank will go through a process to get the property back from you. And so you lose all the money that you've put into the house, but you also lose your house. And then sometimes there's something called a wage garnishment. So this is when creditors will take the money that you owe them directly out of your paycheck. So they don't wait for you to send the money, they'll take it right out of your account. Okay. The fourth area here, it says credit inquiries, and I kind of wrote on that. So when you were scrolling through the credit report, it had inquiries, and it talked about two different types of inquiries. Inquiries that you request so that another person can view, like if you're filing, if you're applying for credit, or inquiries that a facility or like a bank or something does so that they can offer you credit. And so there's different types of inquiries, and we're going to just list some of the ways or some of the types of inquiries here. So there's a self-inquiry, and the video did talk about you wanting to check your credit report at least once a year, and so you can do that, getting a free credit report. And obviously this is for like when you're an adult. Your parents probably do these types of things right now. You can also, if you're applying for credit, so any type of credit application would be considered an inquiry. When you apply for employment, so when you apply for a job, they can run your credit history as well. When you apply for insurance, if you do a rental application, so if you're applying to rent a house, you'll do a rental application and they will check your credit. And then probably the one that most people, young people, will be familiar with and will probably do first is when they apply for a cell phone. So when you apply to have your own cell phone, they will run your credit history. Okay. And then finally, our question, which was, how is my credit report or history impacted by my financial decisions? We're going to look at some scenarios. Okay, but really what I want you to get is that there is a long-term effect of the decisions that we make regarding our finances stay on our credit history or our credit report for a long time. So some examples, we're going to look at this very bottom part. 2 years. So this is how long credit inquiries will stay on your account. Late payments will stay on your account for 7 years. Or not on your account, but will stay on your credit report for 7 years. So that's a long time. Okay. Look at this. 10 years. Things like if you have an account that is closed but it's in good standing, that will be listed on your credit report for 10 years. That way, creditors see that you are credit worthy. Okay. And one other thing, some things will stay on your credit report up to 10 years. Okay, and sometimes they range from between 7 to 10 years, and it just depends on the report type and what it's for. But one example would be bankruptcy. Another one would be something like a foreclosure. Those would stay on your account for possibly up to 10 years. Okay. All right, so we're going to look at some scenarios here, and we're just going to go through and see if they would have, if the statements are true or false. Now, this is telling you to cut them here, and we actually didn't cut these in class. We just went through each one, and then we pasted this into our journal. So you can do the same thing there. So the first one here says, my credit history does not affect my chances for renting my first apartment. The image here looks a little hard to see. So hopefully you have your copy and you can follow along. Let's see. All right, so what do you think? Does your credit history not affect the chances for renting your first apartment? The answer here is false, because it does affect a rental application. To build a positive credit history, I should pay for cash for all purchases. What do you think about that one? The answer here is also false. Paying for cash for everything means that you don't have credit, or you're not building up some credit history. So you have to choose wisely here. The next one says, routinely paying my bills late could negatively affect my credit history. True. What might be a good strategy, now that we've kind of done the first few, is to pause the video right there. And I want you to go through and try to answer the rest of these if you think they're true or false. And then unpause the video when you're ready to check how you did. Okay. All right, so the next one says, when I apply to borrow money for a car, the loan company will most likely look at my credit history. This is true. I need to first pay bills such as a loan or a phone bill to establish credit history. That is also true. Having a small amount of debt is good for my credit history. True. The key part here is a small amount of debt. The more credit cards I have, the higher my credit score will be. That's false. My landlord can report my failure to pay rent to a credit reporting agency. That is true. If my credit card allows me to charge up to $1,000, I should charge the maximum amount to build my credit history. That is false. Paying the entire amount on my credit card creates bad credit history. That is false. Actually, paying the amount on your credit card off would create good credit history. I should review my credit report for errors. That is true. We heard that on the video as well. A credit report contains my personal information, such as my address and Social Security. That is true. Late payments are retained on credit reports for 7 years. True. And the last one says, a bad credit report cannot affect my chances for getting a job. That is false. Okay, so what we did again is we folded this in half, and we ended up just gluing it into our journals so that you have this information available. All right? Okay, so hopefully you'll be able to get that. Make sure if you have any questions, you ask Ms. Trevino, or you post a comment, and I'll try to answer that as soon as I can. All right.